recover. All right, so here's the basic warm-up. First, I'm going to just go slow. I have to work on looking up and seeing the cones in my peripheral vision. Skips. Now when I'm doing these A skips, I'm not just skipping, I'm working on putting my foot down right at the cone. That's to add the precision. So remember, novelty, balance, precision, intention. I'm not getting so much in the balance yet. Some of the other drills I will. Explosiveness. Any jumping and down is going to help with the explosiveness. Bunny hops. Just to get the blood going. And then this one adds some explosiveness. So this is the basic drill. But now I push off with the outside foot. Push off. Push off. And now what I want to do is add more explosiveness. And you can see I'm already out of breath. A lot of benefits that come from this. One of them is moving around the lymphatic fluid. The lymphatic fluid does not have a pump to move it around. It gets moved around by our exercises, and more so by our leg exercises. So this air drill does introduce some explosiveness. And while it's not as much balance as the one I'll show you in a few minutes, but it does require balance as you change direction. So I'm going, explode. You can go from shuffling like I'm doing now to going crossover behind to crossover in front. And you can see where some of the challenge comes into play. Same with this drill. I can go front crossover, then go rear crossover, I can do shuttle. Another drill I like is part of the deal I'm doing is, my objective, the reason I got started on this was I want to beat my sprint time over about 70 yards from 5 years ago. And that's why I'm doing the footwork rather than just sprinting. So I'll do the sprints. But it's also but more importantly, I'm working on speed on footwork drills to drive neurotransmitter. So one of the findings is that a lot of times we think we can't build muscle. The problem is we have a weak neurotransmitter signal. I put content on some of the other posts. I'm not going to go into it here, but the idea is to flood the body with neurotransmitter, strengthen the signal, especially the glutamate, which sends from the central nervous system to the neural pathway, and the acetylcholine which communicates to the muscle junction, especially those two, but you need neurotransmitter to do that. So what we'll do here, this is the basic 4-cone drill, or square drill. So I'm shuffling, and then shuffle the other way. Now, there's variations, and the variation I like is, I'm going to start here, go backwards, and then I accelerate here. Rearward crossovers, shuffle backwards, sprint, frontwards crossovers, back, and then shuffle. So, I'm spiking my heart rate. That's good for heart rate variability. Heart rate variability correlates with willpower. The more heart rate variability you have, the more stamina and endurance you have for willpower. Decision fatigue is related to that heart rate variability. And the reason why willpower wanes throughout the day is decision fatigue. Same principle. Now, so I'm spiking my heart rate. That makes sense why to do that. But I'm also spiking my breathing. Now, breathing is so important. I'm going to get to this later on, but if you think about it, you can live seconds without blood, minutes without oxygen, days without water, weeks without food, and months or years without exercise. Except that exercise does a lot for the cognitive side of it. So you want to put an asterisk next to that one. So spiking my breathing, here's what's going on. We eliminate, this is what this research tells me, and book Just Breathe by Daniel Brule. It's a great book on it. This other one's Wim Hof Method. But what he says in there is that 70% of our toxins are eliminated with the breathing. If you're breathing shallow, that means part of the toxins are staying in the bottom of the lungs and not getting touched. That's why just doing deep breathing exercise, a lot of the martial arts have deep breathing exercises. That alone will cleanse your blood. Back when I used to deal with colds and stuff, if I felt myself getting a cold, I would do deep breathing exercises the whole day. I'll open the chest, push it out, do 12 of those, deep breathing, pushing it out, forcing it into the lungs, and that alone would stop the cold. Since then, I've used alkaline and regular deep breathing. My objective is to do about 5 breaths per minute, which is a good target. Anywhere from 4 to 8 is good. The slower, the longer, the better, because shallow breathing creates anxiety, just like anxiety can create shallow breathing. Now, we're going to go the other way. Notice I had to do a recovery there. So we go back, sprint, cross over to the rear, cross over to the front, shuttle back, shuttle. All right, now you can see where there's some balance a little bit, right? Not as much as this next drill. Now, I told you that I have to add novelty. Novelty, intention, precision, balance, progression, explosiveness, and struggle on the edge of ability. Those 7 factors are also related to deep practice, and you look up deep practice, you'll see some of that. Now, I've never done this drill before. One of the things I really like about these footwork drills is that I can literally look online, find some new drills, and go out and try them. Now, that makes sense, right? Progression, novelty, a little bit of intention, wanting to learn it fairly quickly, right? That makes sense. But when you add struggle on the edge of ability That's like a whole nother dimension. I wanted to bring something in that focuses on balance and explosiveness, because sprinting requires that. It gives me both. So I get a little bit of explosiveness, I get a little bit of balance. A lot of these you can do the same, right? So you can do a lot of the same drills with the cones and the ladder, but I like the cones for the flexibility. The ladder's good for timing stuff because of the consistency. There's less setup variability. So this one, I don't know that I'm gonna go all the way. First time, let's go to here. We got 1 foot hop. One foot. Got a weak ankle there from a snow injury. Let's try it again. So I slowed down because precision is more important than speed. Remember, I'm driving neurotransmitter. And what these 7 factors do is that it tells the central nervous system that this is important. Like, pay attention. It tells the central nervous system that this is important and that we should be paying attention. So, again, right foot. We got the left foot, which I have to go a little slower. I can see how this would help with sprinting for sure. And then it gets a little bit harder. We're gonna go in, out, in, out, in, out, in. So this is the first time. I would say I'll do this drill again next week. 2 weeks from today, this should be easier. In, out. So you're literally getting a chance to see me struggle. All right. In, out. Whew. So I better work on this. What I'll do is I'll add some distance. I've got to get those. I have to start doing the 1 foot drills a little more often. Because I'm flooding my body with neurotransmitter, which includes the dopamine. Dopamine is the habit-forming neurotransmitter. Serotonin is the feel-good neurotransmitter. When I get it right, I should get a shot of serotonin. And the dopamine also comes into play by reinforcing it to do it again. So as I improve, like already in this session, I've been able to add 2 rungs. There is this other one I want to be able to do though. I want to be able to go boom, 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 boom. My struggle is with the left ankle. So let's try a different hop. So this is the same as before, except I'm going sideways. This way, so I'm facing the camera. So this should be hopefully less pressure on the ankle. So it'll be interesting to see how this improves over the weeks. So there you go, struggle on the edge of ability, balance, explosiveness, precision, novelty, intention, all in one exercise. And each week, I'm doing different drills. Each week I set up the cones differently. I look online, I look up speed work, I look up sprint, foot drills for sprint, foot drills for soccer, foot drills for running, foot drills for football, and I just pick up some that look interesting. I got it. All right. Now, I'll do that again next week. But that's going to be it for now. So what I'm going to do, so you know, is that I build up towards sprinting. Like this has very little sprinting in it. As I get near the end of the week, I'll start doing more sprinting. Not long, like you saw today, 5 or 6 yards. I'll start going to 10 yards, and then 2 days before the sprint, I'll do like 15 yards. Ideally take a day off, and then do my sprint timing. Take 5 minutes to talk about the 7 fitness areas. 7 fitness areas, it's my framework for life expansion after 50. The ideal target, people who have had some success, have used success principles, they've been successful with it. You have hit or miss, you have some great days, some great weeks, and then maybe fall off a little bit. Most people have experienced going to a seminar or some kind of an event, and they come away from it feeling great, gung-ho, ready to go, and then they fall back into a slump. Well, the 7 fitness areas is about doing laps around those 7 factors, and especially the first 4, because it's the first 4 that we get our agency and personal leadership. So if we're starting on a new venture, we don't want to just jump in to the right side, which is relationship, professional, financial. We have to reset ourselves. Tony Robbins talks about identity. It's embedded in this, because when you do the laps around mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, what we're doing is gaining the agency for personal leadership for that new quest. When we jump in to relationship, professional, financial, trying to get all these things that we want, it's a struggle because we're using habits that were appropriate for the last run. The other thing is most of our conditioning is from 0 to 7. So unless you do some kind of a reset, we're off anyway, right? Because you got conditioning from 40 years ago, and it's a very different world today than it was then. So there's multiple resets. Every lap is resets. But for a brand new person coming in, the first thing I want to do in the mental area is help them discern the difference between subconscious and conscious. It's not even a subconscious. I won't call it a subconscious mind. I don't even like calling it the subconscious, but I have to use some word that makes sense for people. But it's really the network of neurons. And the network of neurons, you have energy going through those neurons. It's the associations that create the habits. Because energy is going through the neural pathways, and because our thought is energy, it's easy to confuse the two. So there's ways to discern when it's coming from the subconscious versus when it's coming from the conscious. And it's important because the conscious mind has a reaction time of about a half a second. The subconscious has a reaction time of about a quarter of a second. And so what happens, it has the jump on the conscious mind. So that's the first thing. Once you have that discernment, then we can discount the subconscious inputs to about 20% because it's from the past. It's not, if I'm moving forward, some of the associations from the past are not going to be right. So I discount it to about 20%, let the conscious mind come in and make an assessment. Now, maybe it goes with what the subconscious was suggesting, but it gives it that opportunity to cut the deck and check. So that's step 1. There's many, many more because I break the stimulus response cycle, which is a half a second. I break that down into 7 parts. So you can see there's a lot of layers. We also have to look at the pre-stimulus phase, which is another factor, but one step at a time, that's the first thing. Then we go into the physical area. Now the physical area, I already mentioned blood, seconds, breath, breathing, minutes, water, days, food, weeks. So it kind of gives you an idea of what the priority is for how we're going to do this to be healthy.
we want to start with getting the blood clean, and you can do that with exercise. And this 7 fitness areas is not about exercise. The word fitness is about being fit in every area. Exercise is a part of it. I'm doing a lot of exercise today, but it's not because of physical fitness. It's because I want my neurotransmitters popping. I want my signals strong, and I want to keep that out past 85. So getting the blood clean, proper nutrition, alkaline, things like that, getting the lymphatic fluid moving, there's many, many more. But when you understand that the majority of our cognitive processing is physiological, it puts an exclamation point behind you don't want toxins in your system, which brings me to the spiritual. Now, the spiritual is not about this real spiritual realm. It's about our higher self. If I take the spiritual realm and the physical realm, in between there you have a gap, and I'll call that the woo-woo gap. To have agency and personal leadership, I say that gap has to be collapsed. And what we have is a slice, and I'll call that slice the higher self. The spiritual realm, the higher self, and then we have our physical realm over here. That's important, because if I think that the universe is in control and all these things, and I'm not talking about spiritual in terms of God, I'm talking about the unknown, that stuff that happens. Most of it you can explain from neurons and epigenetics and gene expression. But when we collapse that woo-woo gap, now we have agency and personal leadership, because we know what to expect from our inputs. But in the spiritual area, you think about awareness of awareness, and we want to have consciousness, pure thought, and a clear mind. And you can start with breathing. I already mentioned that 70% of our toxins come out of our exhaled breath. So by doing slow, deep breathing, we're going to, and focusing on the breath, that's the awareness. So we shut down the outside noise. This is what happens when you meditate. You're separating between the conscious and the subconscious. You cut out that chatter, and you're able to be in that present moment. By breathing and learning to do the deep breathing, you can start with box breathing. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts exhale, 4 counts hold the exhale, and then start again. That gets you 4 breath cycles per minute. But that breathing will slow things down, and it gives you the ability to manage that present moment. The fourth area is emotions. So if you think about it like mental, physical, spiritual on the left side, emotions in the middle, relationship, professional, financials on the right side. So it's be, do, have. We're stepping away from have, do, be. We want be, do, have. And the emotions, that is the gateway to the right side. It's the gateway to relationships. It's the gateway to professional. It's the gateway to financial, because those are controlled by other people, or at least co-controlled. You have other people are involved, but when it comes to the mental, physical, spiritual, that's all on you. And emotions on you too, but you can get triggered and hijacked. That's why emotions is the gateway to the right side. So the first step we want to do is be able to modulate our emotions, and that comes down to letting emotions be energy in motion. You let them flow through. You don't want to harbor. You don't want to dwell on them. I say locate the emotion when you're feeling like fear or anger, sadness, disappointment, shame, embarrassment, vulnerability. Label it. And Joan Rosenberg in her book 90 Seconds to a Life You Love says it comes down to just 8 emotions. All the emotions come down to, negative emotions come down to just 8. But you want to locate it. Where is it in my body? You want to label it, and then you want to learn from it. Labeling it is important, because now you can do something about it. Without that labeling, everything can be like anxiety. And then what happens is we get into these anxiety spirals. And one of the reasons why people don't want to step out and take risks is because they feel like that anxiety spiral is not in their control. By doing it this way with the 7 fitness areas and doing those laps around the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, you get to the point where you can prevent it. You know, you can see it coming, you know what to do, and you have a backstop, which is the emotional modulation piece, which it's much more than that. As I said, we do laps. Every lap we uncover one more thing. But I have to start with somebody. If they're coming to me highly triggered, they're stressed out, they're fight or flight, I have to start with baby steps and get them to the point where we could do more of the things. So that's it. I will go live at least 3 times a month, different locations, usually tied in with Footwork. And what I'll start doing is unpacking fitness area by fitness area over the weeks. Main page is Life Expansion After 50. You may be watching this on 7 fitness areas, or you may be watching it on one of the other channels, Active Life Network. But Life Expansion After 50 is the main page, and I have a group that's starting up. You can join the group. That way you can post your exercises as well. Once we start getting some more traction, I'd love to see some other people's exercises and their results.